Hey guys, Magnus Robert here, and I just want to say I wanted to do a top 10 event video for some time, top 10 best events. I've wanted to do this for some time, but it's such a pain in my you know what because there's so many god darn it events, and they all have various different structures. Like the older events, of course, have crafting and stuff like that, and I feel like it's unfair on these new multi events because a lot of them just get beaten out just by sheer amount of content that's added, and I feel like it's unfair. So I figured, why not just do top 10 best multi-events and top 10 worst multi-events. Now, there have actually been 21 total multi-events, and I could have just done a ranked from worst to best list, but honestly, I figured we'll split it into two videos. That's more monetization for me. Instead of just getting 6p, I'll get 12p. So I figured why not just split it into two videos. Now, what is a multi-event? A multi-event is basically, ever since we got the Simpsons Christmas special update, every major update or like big update, one that gets like a new splash screen and all that, has been a multi-event. And essentially what that is, it's the mini-event structure repeated 4 times. And so that's what we're going off. I'll leave a list in the description from the Wiki Simpsons of all the multi-events that we've got so far. So this of course includes Dog Days, which has recently ended as well. It's pretty much one of those. So yeah, I'm going to be ranking them from top 10. Obviously we'll do from 10 to 1. But I do have an honourable mention to talk about. I figured we'd keep it positive, and I'd keep the honourable mention here in the top 10 best, rather than put a dishonourable mention in the top 10 worst. So let's start it off with my honourable mention, which honestly is probably going to surprise some people, but I can't lie, I have to give it the honourable mention, and that is Game of Games. So when Game of Games first came out, I didn't like it. And to be honest, I still don't really like this update that much either, really. I think it's better than the sequel that they released, but not by much. And I know it's like, you're starting off pretty negative here. Yeah, I'm starting off pretty negative. In terms of characters, they added some okay ones. I think Dash Dingo is a cool enough character. Report Card's okay. I quite like Mr. Dirt's inclusion because, of course, he's from the Simpsons game. So, characters like that are okay. Stick 'em Up Walrus is like a meh one, I guess. The Detonator I did not like, though. I just figured he was pretty generic. And I really appreciated the character skins they added. Crustcraft Krusty, General Splattin, and Smell You Later. Although those costumes aren't particularly strong costumes, I like the fact that they were at least added as costumes. They got some uniqueness to them as well, which is pretty cool. Buildings were pretty lacking. Honestly, I didn't really like any of the buildings in this update. I think they were all a bit shoddy, to be honest. I like Maple HQ a little bit, but I like the Rigel 7 one is kind of similar with the bubble, and I really like that one. The Maple HQ, I don't understand why they couldn't just add it as without the water, really. They didn't really need to add it with a little bubble. I don't think that was necessary. I'm not really a fan of any of the other buildings, really. Decoration-wise, I think most of them are kind of crappy too. But the main reason why I like this update, and the reason why I'm giving it an honourable mention, is mainly because theme-wise, it's pretty solid, video games within the show. And I think structure-wise, this update was pretty good. It gave us like a character, a costume, two characters in the third act, which was kind of crazy, and a character and a costume in the fourth act. In terms of the characters aren't great, but they added some of the characters aren't great, but they just added so much cool stuff. Adding a character and a costume in the prize track, in one prize track, and then adding 2 characters in another prize track. That's honestly the only reason as to why this has got an honourable mention. And if Dash Dingo and Report Card weren't somewhat cool, I probably wouldn't bother giving it an honourable mention. So starting off a little negative, but I still got to give props to Game of Games. Over the years, it's definitely been one I've not looked back on fondly, but there is some good stuff in here for sure. Number 10, we're starting off with Black History Month or the Black History event. I liked the Black History event for a lot of reasons. I really liked the fact that they have a really solid theme. It was cool for them to actually do a new sort of holiday, annual holiday themed event without having, that wasn't Christmas or Halloween or Thanksgiving, and was something new as well. It's not something they've done before. And I really appreciate that they did a whole kind of major event for this holiday that they have never really celebrated before in the past. And yeah, I wish they would do that more often. We could get an Arbor Day event, or we could get a full-on I know we've got 4th of July mini events before, but like a full-on major 4th of July event, stuff like that, or maybe even other kind of holidays from other countries, like a Passover event or something like that. Although I think Passover, I'm not sure what month that falls on actually. So I really appreciated that. Saying that though, there's a lot of weak points in this event for sure. I think decoration-wise, it's pretty weak for a start. A lot of these aren't great decorations. Lots of two crowds, obviously. The adult skateboards, which isn't that great. The bully bus, I kind of like the bully bus, I guess. And the traveling circus is nice, but everything else isn't too notable. Building-wise, I like Moving On, and I like the mega church, and I actually really like the Canadian border as well, although arguably it shouldn't really be a building. But like Cretaceous Park and the Hard Lad nightclub, I'm not a big fan of. Characters, though, I think this is why it elevates it to number 10 instead of just being the honourable mention, is because I think Virgil Simpson is one of the standout characters, like, ever added. I think he's like one of my all-time favourite characters. I really like what they did with him. And as well, I think Mabel Simpson's another good example. Mabel Simpson is an example of a doppelganger done right. This is a character that looks like Marge, and it makes no sense to make this character a costume for Marge because it's a separate person. And so I really think they did her justice in like the quest line and stuff. So yeah, I really like that. And then on top of that, there's a few characters I'm pretty meh on. There's some ones I definitely don't like the bully boss for sure. But I think this update has a lot to love about it. So I give it that. It does have the obviously back in the day when we had the prize track, you would have a token taking up part of the prize track, and obviously that event does have this. But yeah, overall, still a pretty okay event. There's stuff I like in it for sure, but not enough to put it any higher than 10. A Simpsons Christmas special. That's right, we're going to the very first of these multi-events. And I'm making this my number 9 because I think it's a bit weak in some aspects. Now, in the past, I've kind of complained because this update kind of started the trend of adding, younger characters. Like, we got so many young characters in this event, and they were all, characters instead of just costumes. Now, it's not the first one to do it. Obviously, there was like Sci-Fi Update as well that had a few like that. But this one kind of mainstreamed, I feel, and like ever since they did this update, it was like it felt like it kind of opened the floodgates, to more. However, this update does have a kind of unique aspect to it compared to all the other multi-events, and that is that there were still buildings added to the store for donuts, like on their own, that weren't like character combos. So yeah, it's weird that this update did that, and then they kind of dropped it completely after this, which was fairly odd. Like the screens, the boathouse, the Timberlog Diner, Bethlehem Inn, all these were buildings that didn't come with characters, that were just thrown into the store, and I like that as well. And so the only reason why this update is honestly kind of elevated above the others is really just down to that. More buildings. The buildings are awesome. Character-wise, like I said, not great. The young characters aren't amazing. And I think a lot of them were pretty weak. Like Angel Lisa, I think is very weak. Deep Freeze, I think is pretty weak. The Ghost of Christmas Past, I don't like. Mrs. Claus, I don't like that much. I don't mind the Circus Acrobat and Don Brodka. I think those two are pretty good. As well as Lee Carvello and Jim Hope. So, there's some good stuff here and there, don't get me wrong. Good characters anyway, but the buildings are the thing that elevates it for me. However, due to most of these buildings being premium, the only free buildings you get are the Snowbank, the Truck Stop Diner, the Snowed Inn, and the Toy Fortress, which are pretty decent buildings in their own right, apart from maybe the Snowbank. I'm not too keen on that. Every other single building is donuts, and so for that reason, because they're not free, I can't really give it too much props because they put a price tag behind them, so that's not very nice. Not very nice at all. As well, this update kind of started the broken structure meme, where they would have the character like in between the prize track instead of putting them at the end of the prize track, and I partly blame this update for that as well. So lots of good things in this update for sure. Lots of awesome ass buildings, but they are mostly behind a prize tag. It was a first thing, the first thing of an era. It's start of an era of multi-events, but it's okay. But there's some good stuff in there, just not enough to put it any higher on the list. Hell on Wheels, yeah, that's right. The recent Hell on Wheels update. I like Hell on Wheels quite a bit, and part of me kind of wants to put it higher, but I'm just worried that I'm falling into like a recency bias sort of thing, and maybe when more time passes, I might put it higher on this list. But I'm just being a bit wary because, like I said, of recency bias. I do love this event a lot. I think there are definitely some solid things in here. I do have minor gripes here and there, but we'll get into it. So let's start off with characters. Billy is awesome. I like Billy. Nothing crazy amazing, but, you know, a pretty good character. Miss Pennyfeather, pretty crappy. Was a bad inclusion. Cliff's okay. Crazy Vaclav's really good. Antonian Zora I'm not too bothered about. No Helmet Debris is, he's alright. He's fine. So yeah, and then you have like the skin as well for Duffman, which is fine. In terms of, and the Cargo Smart as well, the Cargo Smart Car, which is a cool enough NPC. In terms of buildings, I think this update is very solid. I love all the buildings mostly. The only one I dislike is the Springfield Demolition Derby, which obviously really shouldn't be a building and is actually like a repeat of a previous like building that we've got before. So that wasn't great, but the rest I like, to be honest. And decoration-wise, lots of cool cars that were added and various other things as well. So, yeah, there's just a lot of great stuff in this update. I really like the theme. Pretty solid. Maybe it would be put higher. I'd just have to let some time pass before I put it any higher. Rise of Robots. So normally, I think I might have put this as my favourite event of the year it came out. What year was that? 2021. Yeah, last year. Did I put this as my favourite one? I actually forget. I think I've changed my mind on it, looking back, if I did put it as my favourite. I still like this event. I still think it's really awesome. I think some of the characters are great, like Frank Jr., Bestis Muncho is really cool. I really like Brenda, and I somewhat like Cyborg Willie as well. I think he was okay. Cyborg Bar and the two NPCs are just awesome. So cool. They were great. Building-wise, there's some okay ones. The Prodigy Barns are nice enough. I really love the Robot Rumble Studio. It's a really cool building, and I really love the Thai Food Factory as well. So yeah, they're pretty solid. Decoration-wise, there's some really great ones. I like the Award Show Enforcement Bot. I like the Smashiest Clay. I like the Posi Bots. They're really cool. So yes, just some great-ass decorations too. And normally I don't talk about decorations, but this update really smashed the decorations out the park. There was a little iffiness with the structure at the end. I wasn't too keen on the structure, and I think in the past I think I based this event's sort of greatness more on the structure. And I think now time has passed. I think I've kind of been more and more okay with the structure that they currently are doing in the game. I think I've started to like it more. I prefer if they had the character at the end of the prize track. For the most part, but to be honest, I'm starting to live with it. Okay, yeah, this event's really nice. I do love this event a lot. I really love the theme, solid ass theme. Some great stuff here. The questline was really nice. I know Elo Arthur doesn't like this event. He thinks it's one of the worst, but he's wrong. And yeah, overall, I like this event. So I'm putting it here, which is number 6. No, number 7. Now to number 6. Into the Simpsons verse. So this is one I've kind of gone back and forth on a little bit. At first I was like kind of almost a bit jaded about it, and honestly looking back on it, I think it's like a really good event, to be fair. I think one of my biggest sort of things about this event is, although yeah, it's based on the whole Into the Simpsons verse, you know, segment of that Treehouse of Horror, they didn't really take much stuff from that particular episode because there really wasn't that much to add. So apart from some of the characters and a few decorations here and there, there's nothing from that episode. But I really like the fact that they were able to kind of bring in stuff from other little clips and other episodes and actually tie it in a pretty decent way. Granted, it's not perfect. There are definitely a few things that feel a bit loose and like loosely connected. But overall, I think they did a fairly decent job. So honestly, yeah. Now let's get into it. Into the specifics. I think in terms of characters, Noir Homer, Princess Homer, both very solid. Anime Homer, very solid. And Evil Godmother Burns, I think, is pretty good too. The Ethereal Beings, I wasn't too keen on, to be honest. And the Anime Marge, Noir Lisa, I wasn't too keen on. In terms of buildings, there's a lot of great ones. I like the Private Investigator's Office. I really like the Anime Krusty Burger. The Yo-Yo's Cloud Palace is pretty nice. NewTube, I think, is really cool. Gimbel's Department Store is fine. The Anime District and the Alien Utopia, I think, are the two weakest ones. But, yum! The Fantasy Mountain Castle. Oh, this building. This was a good-ass building. So, yeah, I gotta give that one props. And the decorations, yeah, there were some decent ones here and there. Yeah, overall, just a really nice, really fun update, really jazzy update. They definitely pulled together the theme of this one too. So, yeah, I feel pretty confident putting it here. Simpsons Babies. Yeah, I'm putting it above Springfield Enlightened, I know. And people are going to be like, wait, what? You hated this update when it first came out. I kind of did. But do you know what? Looking back on it, I think I was a bit too harsh on the young characters. I think there's actually, some of them are okay. Like, I think Baby Homer's okay. Baby Marge is okay. Baby Lisa's okay. Baby Bot's okay. I'm not too keen on Baby Frank, Young Burns, and the rest of them. Like, I'm not keen on the others. But the main core Simpsons family ones, I think are actually pretty decent characters. Building wise, this added some great buildings, and I think that's the main reason as to why it is this high. And all of the buildings, apart from obviously the combo buildings, the 4 combo buildings, the rest of them were all free, which is just amazing. You know, like the Dodge and Bumper Cars one's really cool. Doughy Dozen Bagels is awesome. Springfield Jiminy, Petit Appetit is a great building. Kids Zone Elite I really like. Frink's house, bit small, but it's okay. Colonel Burns' mansion's pretty nice. Community Fit is fine as well. You know, just some great buildings. So, sue me, I'm putting Simpsons Babies this high. But in terms of the actual content it gave, I just think it's really good. Dog Days, that's right, the most recent update. I've loved this update quite a bit. I think it's been pretty awesome. Characters are great. Crazy Dog Man, great. Danger Dog, great. Emily Wimfroth, great. Elaine Wolf, a bit meh. Les Moore, great. Lionel Budgie, surprisingly great. McGriff the Crime Dog, don't care that too much. I don't care much for him, plus he's super premium. But like I said, apart from that, just great characters. Wasn't too keen on Laddie being an NPC, but I was more than happy to get Rosa Parks. Building-wise, smashed it out of the park. So many awesome buildings, and most of which were, of course, free. Now, a lot of these are what I would call sort of your everyday town buildings, just some more sort of simpler. They're not like big, grandiose buildings. They're just simple stores and veterinarians and things like that. But do you know what? We need them now and again. I think if we were just to get grandiose, big-ass buildings all the time, it would get boring and our town would look stupid because there would just be these big, big, silly buildings all over the town instead of just some nice, small little stores here and there. So I really appreciate getting all these like stores, and I think that is the main reason why this update is as high as it is. It may change my mind again with the whole recency bias. It's possible I would change my mind in the future, but for now I'm pretty happy putting it here at number 5. We'll see if maybe I will put it higher. Dog Days is actually number 4, by the way. I did some reshuffling as I made this video. This always happens. I just changed my mind. Van Houten's, that is number 3. I think the main reason as to why this is this high comes down to 2 reasons. The first of which is the theme. I really love the fact that they did an entire update on Milhouse. I don't like Milhouse as a character in the show. I think he's pretty overrated. But do you know what? I think this update is something special. They really sort of captured, the Van Houten name, if you will. And I think there's just some really great stuff in here that just pops out. So let's go through it. Starting off, I just want to talk about structure. This does have the whole token in the prize track thing, but I think for the most part, it's not a big deal. But I just figured I'd just quickly mention it. So let's go to characters. Annika, pretty cool. Kind of leads the event parts. Really like her. Grandma Van Houten, awesome. Kirk Medeus Van Houten, he's okay. Milhouse was kind of actually funny. Kind of surprisingly okay. Milford Van Houten was fine. Grandpa Van Houten, great. Secretary Van Houten, meh. And Muscular Milhouse, bad. We'll give that one a bad one. And then in terms of character skins, we've got Cool Milhouse, Italian Milhouse. I really like Cool Milhouse. Not so keen on Italian Milhouse, but that's to be. The biggest downside to this update is when it comes down to buildings. We only get 3, all of which are okay, apart from the Van Houten villa. Maybe I'm just a bit sick of villas, but whatever. But the other 2 are really nice. But my God, when I talked about decorations before, this update has some popping decorations. The Go-Go Ray, which includes an animation as well. The Millhouse Balloon Archway, I love it. The Bounce House, great. The Squishy Machine, great. Some others, the Millhouse Pool and Zipline's pretty cool though. And there's a few more here and there as well, like different ones. But those ones are just great. Really popping, beautiful looking decorations, and with the theme, the really cool characters, the small but still good buildings, and the great decorations. I just think this as a whole package, this update is really, really good, and I remember it very, very fondly, more fondly than the others. Now, like I said, Dog Days I probably could beat this in the future. I think it's very possible. I was a bit torn between the two, but I'm keeping Van Houten's here for now. But maybe in a few months I'll put Dog Days higher. We'll see. We'll see. Treehouse of Horror XXXI, aka the Hell update. This is the only one that is actually the only Halloween event that's actually made the list. The others have been shockingly bad, to be honest, and they might make a few appearances on the worst list. The Hell event, though, I actually think was, for the most part, pretty cool. It's a very niche subject. Now, I think Halloween events are tricky as hell, because you want to do Treehouse of Horror, right? You don't want to stray away and do something completely different. And so, sticking with a theme, obviously you already have the theme of Treehouse of Horror, but then finding like a sub-theme of that is kind of, like I said, very tricky. And they managed to pull it off with this one because they have the sub-theme of Hell. And they pulled together from a lot of different episodes, and I think it really works out. Now, granted, it's not a perfect update. There are a few things I take issues with, I think there's a lot of decorations that fill up the prize track, and a lot of those decorations aren't particularly great. That is a downside of that update for sure, but I think it kind of makes up with the fact with some of the other stuff. So let's get into it. Let's first of all start with our characters. So we've got the Hell Teacher, Hell Principals, Old Scratch, Torture Coach, Demon Mo, and Demon Technician. So Old Scratch is amazing. The Hell Principals are pretty good. The Demon Technician and the Torture Coach are meh to me. And Demon Mo, I think, is the only one who is, like, I would say bad. Costumes, I really appreciate the fact that they made both Beelzebart and Lucifer costumes, and Donut Homer, despite it being super premium, I think is amazing. So, do you know what? I almost give it a pass. Not quite, but I almost give it a pass. Those three costumes were all just great. Now, building-wise, it was a really, really tricky update to really throw up buildings, because obviously, when it's based in Hell, you can't really do much apart from, like, maybe add Hell as a big-ass building. But they kind of, they did it off. They have Hell's Kitchen, which is nice. The Hell Labs, which is great. The Murder House, which they were able to tie into the event quite nicely. The Hell Stage, despite it being an interior, I do kind of like it. Old Scratch's Gym, which obviously is a tap-out exclusive, but it's okay. And Hell Mo's, I'm not a big fan of, but whatever. And yeah, just really love the theme of this one. Really, really cool. The characters and all that made up for it. The prize track was pretty good too. Like I said, my biggest complaint was just those decorations. Some of the decorations were a bit crappy to me. But I think, despite that, I remember this update very fondly. So I'm going to put it at the prestige position of number 2. But it is not number 1. What is number 1? Can we have that drum roll? Number 1 is Love Springfieldian Style. So yeah, by far the best update is definitely Love Springfieldian Style. I don't see much beating this update, to be honest. Like, in the future, they would have to really, really wow me. Okay, where do we start? Let's first of all start with the theme. So, Valentine's Day. Before this, we hadn't had a Valentine's Day theme in a while. Which was a bit sad, so it was nice to kind of finally get one back. So that is pretty solid. Yeah, it's nothing too creative, but I think it's fine, it works. Structure-wise, it's great. There is buildings in the prize track, plenty of buildings. Some, like Act 1, for example, has 4 buildings and then a character. That's just unheard of today. And, like, Act 2 has, obviously, like, the second prize in Act 2 has, like, a combination of 3 buildings. Like, that's just crazy. Like, we never see this. But anyway, so like I said, structure, great. Now let's talk about characters. Character-wise, this update is amazing. Mr. Bergstrom, a great character. Groundskeeper Wilmette, they did really well, I think. Gender was great. Gloria, great. Samantha Stanky, great. Principal Donglinger, great. Nikki McKenna, great. Chaz Busby, great. Nedwood Sr. and Capri Flanders, great. Vicky Valentine, great. All the characters, in my opinion, obviously some are better than others, but they all, for the most part, were just really great characters. Now, building-wise, this update has a lot of awesome-ass buildings. So the Childarium's great, Miss Tilham's schools, and is it okay? The Springfield, was it Planetarium? Really, really nice. The Union Station I like. All the Shelbyville buildings are great. And then just there's more and more and more, but they're just trust me, they're all pretty decent buildings. I'm trying to think if there's one I don't like. I think there's none I hate. There's some I think are a bit meh, but just a lot of great buildings though. Decorations there wasn't tons of, but do you know what? There's a good reason as to why there wasn't tons of decorations, because we got a lot of ass buildings. But even some of these decorations were great, like the Shelbyville Bluffs. They obviously had the animation for Bart as well, so that was pretty cool. The Contraception Overlook I quite like. The Quantum Tunnel is really, really cool, although I do wish you could connect it to the road a bit easier. And Welcome to Springfield Arch, I guess, is alright. Yeah, I mean, looking at all that, how could you not say that this was the best multi-event that they've ever done? I think in the past I've definitely or kind of downgraded this update, but I must admit this update is by far the best that they've done in terms of multi-events. I don't think anything has really come close to it. And yeah, like even like with the buildings, for example, the only ones that are donuts are the combo buildings, and I think, yeah, one's a Gill Steel, and the other's a combo buildings, yeah. So, what can I say? This is by far the best update of the best multi update that they've ever done. I think in the past I've not given it the credit it's deserved. But anyway, that is my top 10 best multi-events video done. If you have a different opinion, please do let me know. If there's one I've not included on the list that you actually really, really like, then please tell me that. Tune in next week, probably next week, I will do my top 10 worst multi-events that they've ever had. And that will be a fun list, because I like to talk negative more than I like to talk positive. I don't like to be a positive person. Unless it's STDs. Goodbye.